Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the town of Bluff. Tonight is Wednesday, August 2nd. It is 6:02 p.m. We're meeting virtually and in the community center. Here comes Malia. We'll go ahead and start with a roll call for commissioners. This is Amanda Podmore, chair.
Marcia Hadenfeldt.
Ed Dobson.
Ryan Whitney.
And Malia, would you like to introduce yourself? Oh, did we lose Malia?
We might have lost her for a minute.
Oh
no! There you are.
Okay, Malia.
Okay, that was Malia Collins for the record. All right. And then town council?
Luann Hook.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll start to, and Erin is not going to be joining our meetings anymore because she's taking Wednesdays off, so that is great. We'll start with approval of meeting minutes from July 19th. Let me share my screen. How's that look to folks? A little bigger? Or?
I think we can see it, but I think there were a couple of comments.
Okay.
It'd be better if it was a little bigger for me, please.
No problem. First comment under land use clearance review. There's a correction that the land use clearance is for a ADU. So Marcia, you corrected it from residential dwelling to ADU.
They had applied for an ADU, and then later we discussed the word dwelling. So.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Alrighty. So, folks good with accepting that change?
Yes.
Yes.
That's good.
Okay. And then Marcia added that it does not have a kitchen, nor that it has to have a kitchen.
Residential does not specify the amount of time people spend, nor that it has to have a kitchen, which is why we switched the wording to dwelling for them instead of ADU, which says kitchen.
Everybody good with that change?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Marcia. And then Marcia just added a grammatical fix here. And spelling fix here with judgment.
Right.
And then, okay, we're on, let's see, this is the fourth page. Marcia reworded it to say the commission stated they were not comfortable drafting an aviation ordinance, but would agree to send suggested considerations and recommendations to town council. The council could then coordinate with legal counsel to obtain a drafted ordinance, and then PZ would follow the review process and send to town council for a final vote. Everybody good with that? Go ahead, Marcia.
No, I just wanted to say that it said in Erin's minutes, high-level considerations, and I'm not sure that that's, I just didn't like that wording. I'm not sure we said that. So I just cleaned up the sentence.
Yeah, I guess maybe the most appropriate word instead of considerations is recommendations, because we did make a formal recommendation.
Sure. Send suggested recommendations. Oh, but it says, no, it says considerations and recommendations are both in that sentence, Amanda.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of what we talked about and considered and what we recommended, I think. Great. Is what she was saying.
Okay. That works for me. Is that changed okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay. The next paragraph has a grammatical correction, and then following paragraph, Marcia updated it to read, Hadenfeldt seconded the motion. Hadenfeldt said it may not be the town attorney who should receive it, but whoever is assigned to draft an ordinance for review.
I just meant that the town council might have a different direction rather than the attorney. I'm assuming it will be the attorney, but perhaps something else will be determined.
Okay. If that's what you said, that sounds good to me. So everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. There's another grammatical. This is what, the fifth page. Marcia added the word zoning to the sentence. Hadenfeldt asked to include a note to town council to work on commercial aviation zoning. That seems accurate to me.
Right. We already determined there was commercial aviation, but what zone would it go in, I think is what we were referring to.
Yeah. Okay. No more suggested changes. Anybody else have any edits or changes?
Move to approve as amended.
Second that.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
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 Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Next on our agenda is public citizens to be heard. This is the opportunity for anybody who would like to share something. You have up to 3 minutes to make a public comment. Please raise your virtual hand, your physical hand, or put your name in the chat. Or say so over the phone. I don't see anybody. Going once, going twice. Okay, I will close public comment for the evening. Thank you, everybody. Okay, on our agenda, we have old business and new business. We do have, well, before we get into the item 1 of old business, it sounds like there is a risk of power going out in Bluff tonight. And so if that happens, I would just ask everybody log back on if it comes back within 10 minutes. If it's longer than 10 minutes, we'll consider the meeting adjourned early because of lack of electricity. Sound good to everybody? Okay.
Yes.
Great. We do have a land partition review on the agenda, and I know Mr. Podmore didn't have a lot of time, so I was going to see if he was on the call already. Mike, are you on the line? No. Okay. We'll come back to that. Okay. Item 1 under old business is update from town council. Luann, can you give us an update of things relevant to planning and zoning?
Sure. The way it turned out this time, the only meeting we had was last night, since the last time that I met with you all. And Mayor Ann was out of town. We had a real simplified version of our agenda, but we had the power outage about 5 minutes in, maybe 8 minutes in. And then our laptops held, but everybody else got booted off. And then pretty soon that failed too. So our fiber doesn't necessarily stay on. But we did have a public comment from Jim Hook. He said, it's been over a year ago that he asked for consideration of being able to extend the 6th West Alley. And there's just been delay motions, no answer yet. So he did that public comment. And then, as Amanda said, Erin is no longer going to be attending. She is off on Wednesdays. So it is just me. And if I can't make it, I'll find somebody. And of course, anybody else is welcome. But I try to get to as many of them as I can. And then the other thing that before we got cut off was there's a Utah League of the Cities and Towns conference again this year. Last year, Ann and Linda Sosa went. And so anyway, we're looking to see who ought to go this year. But I think it's in September. I don't have those dates on me. But anyway, then we cut off. And like I say, most of the agenda was just some updates. So we'll probably just be adding that to next week's Monday. Questions?
Oh, sorry that happened, but yeah, any questions for Luann? Okay.
All right. Yeah, thanks. And yeah, it did just shut off last night. It sounds like a crane in Salt Lake blew and hit some power lines, spun around, and they probably just shut ours off. Blanding and Monticello still had their power. But anyway, we'll hope it holds tonight.
Okay.
All right.
Alrighty. Item 2 under old business is an update on the Twin Rocks sign that was installed without a sign permit. So as a reminder, after our last meeting, I sent Steve Simpson a letter saying how we interpret the word device in our sign code and asking him to please submit a sign application form since he did not do so in putting up a new sign. Steve responded to us with a letter yesterday that was circulated. I'd love to hear from commissioners on your thoughts on that, but I want to let you know in the meantime, I read it over and over again and decided to send it and my original letter to the lawyer for advice because I was not sure how to proceed. So, Marcia, go ahead.
Two things. First of all, I have the physical letter because Linda dropped it off from the main office. So later under other, I want to discuss how we physically take care of paperwork because it seems to be going back and forth, but that's neither here nor there. But my comment would be that I think we're at the, what I thought we were trying to do was open a discussion with Steve by having him do the permit, and then we could all determine what this was. If he's going to fight that or not want to comply with that, then we are at the point of getting a legal interpretation. So I completely agree with you sending it to the attorney.
Yeah, thank you, Marcia. I agree with what you said too, that we were inviting the conversation and clarification, and that did not happen. So, any other commissioners, any thoughts or concerns you want to share?
If I may.
Go ahead.
Hey, I am curious about if this is something that we need to readjust on our sign ordinance, because it feels like we're kind of in the same boat of not being able to regulate what is necessarily on the sign versus what is, you know, like putting up the new sign. Based on like his letter, it was saying something of putting the new vinyl over versus, yeah. So I'm curious if we should revisit our sign ordinance.
Yeah, I've been wondering that as well. It is part of our zoning code, which would require a full zoning code notice. But there may be a way that we can do like a standalone sign ordinance, so we can ask Chris about that. Marcia, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the same thing, that I agree with Malia. There may be some things to catch that all of these latest sign applications have brought forward to us, some of our wording and stuff. But I still think that this individual, I think, Malia, the fact that he put a cover over the sign is not the wording of the sign. In this particular case, it is making a sign for a business that wasn't there. That wasn't the sign that was there. So that's, I believe, where our discussion is coming in. And it may behoove us, with the help of Chris McEnany or whatever, that some of the wording isn't, I don't think it's ambiguous myself. I think you don't cover an existing sign, but we may need some help interpreting, which would lead to fixing some wording.
Mm-hmm. I did want to note on the public record that he said, would we require a sign permit application if somebody was updating an existing sign? And he said, I assume no. And I would say absolutely yes. That is the point of the sign application form, is to get permission with a new sign, whether it's on existing structure or not, partly because we need to make sure it's in compliance with our outdoor lighting ordinance. So any new sign needs to go through the sign permit application process.
That's good, Amanda.
Any final thoughts from any commissioners on this?
Not only that I agree with the actions that you're proposing to take, not really totally wise to exactly what the logic is behind all of it, but it does seem like we need some legal interpretation.
Okay.
Ditto.
Right. Thanks, everybody. Okay, I'll move on to item 3, which is an update on the aviation ordinance recommendation to town council. I do not have an update, especially because the council meeting was cut short last night. But I am hoping to present to town council soon, or we can have a work session with them. I don't have any further update. Luann, do you have any update on the town receiving our recommendation?
No, I don't. There's nothing new that's happened since we last talked
Okay.
that I'm aware of.
Okay. So I will just keep that on the agenda for our next meeting as we'll have more information then. Moving on to new business, item 4 is a land partition review for Mr. Michael Podmore. Here I will disclose that I have a conflict of interest in that this is a family relative seeking to partition land. I will still chair this section of the meeting, but I'll likely refrain from voting. So Mike, are you on the line right now? It's not. Okay. I will go ahead and share what we have so far. We received both the application, and then today we received the formal land survey. So let's see.
If I might, Amanda, could I just comment that it was brought to my attention, Erin and I, and then you were also in on it, the discussion about does our paperwork match? Some of it says you should have your survey with it. Some of it says if it's approved that you might get a survey. So I'd like also for us to put that perhaps under other for fixing up the matching our documents to say what it should.
Thank you, Marcia. Because I believe the ordinance related to partitions says a survey is not required, but it is required on the form. So we need to work on that alignment.
Yeah, I think that's what happened, but you were kind enough to pass the message along, and we have a survey for this discussion. I'll just put it under other.
So here's the project description. It's a request to partition a 2.9 acre parcel in West Bluff, south of the Cottonwood subdivision on 5th West Street, into a 0.75 acre parcel and a 2.75 acre parcel. It is residential land that's currently vacant. Then let me show the actual land survey. Do folks have any commissioners have any thoughts or questions or things I would need to show? Marcia, go ahead.
Just this question comes up every time we do any land stuff, and that is access. And according to this diagram, 5th Street will go into the properties so that both the new property owners or the division of the two lots, both will be accessed on 5th Street with what, a driveway coming off of both of those then? So 5th Street, it, hits right in between. Yeah.
Here's 5th Street. The partition is immediately in the middle of 5th Street where you can access that, and there's a gate there.
In other words, I'm just clarifying that both parties have their own entrance, and there's not a easement problem or overlapping, entrance problem that will come back to bite. So as it has so many others below that property, the other side.
Yeah. It says in his narrative, it says the two parcels would be accessible via the adjacent 80-foot wide public right of way on 5th West Street. So yes.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions or concerns from commissioners?
Madam Chair?
Yep.
Looking at West 400 South, there's a reference in the application, I believe, that states that that is an alley. Am I missing something there?
Let me
You just
show-
passed it, Amanda. Go.
Well, I'm trying to show the map. So I don't know if you can see that, Ed, actually, because you're on the phone, but if you're looking at the land survey, where 5th Street then comes into the larger parcel that's proposed for partition, the property immediately to the east or the right is my property. And then 400 South is that alley in between. There is an alley that bisects Michael Podmore's property and my property.
Okay, I guess I'm interested in, that's the only thing I've ever seen where an alley is given a street address. Was the original intent there that West 400 South will be a street? Why is it considered an alley? I mean, that's your address, isn't it? You have a West 400 South address?
We do, yeah. We've 432 West South.
Yeah, and alleys don't get addresses, do they? Streets get addresses.
I don't think alleys get addresses, but it is on the formal partition.
Yeah, I think we need to clarify that whether or not West 400 South is supposed to become a street. And that would give access to the partitioned properties from West 400 South. That would take care of Marcia's concern, I think.
Well, there's already access on the 5th Street. So I feel like your question of whether or not this alley is named or intends to become a street is potentially separate from this, because access is not being proposed along the alley.
I guess I'm bothered by that, because if it really is a street, then why would somebody, well, there seems to be some reason that somebody doesn't want any access off the street. I'm kind of bothered by that.
It's not, I know it's considered an alley, it's not a street, but I don't know why.
Well, who designated it as an alley? Where is that designation in the county records or the state records?
Oh,
I mean, obviously it's West 400 South, which is a street.
it's an alley on the Cottonwood plat, Cottonwood subdivision plat. I do know that Jim Sayers has sought to purchase that alley in the past, so I know that it is an alley.
Was he able to purchase it?
No, I don't think the town is considering alley purchases right now.
I think the first thing Jim would have had to do is get the thing declared an alley and then have the alley vacated. That's what Joyce and Paul Martini did. They had an alley vacated so that they could combine two properties. And I don't think Jim has been able to do that because it's a street.
No, he hasn't been able to do that because the town is not currently considering vacating alleys.
Or streets? I don't think a town can vacate a street.
Well, I mean, I understand Ed's question on the mapping of it, but with the exception of the fact that Michael Podmore would want to know what was next to him, it's not necessarily affecting our discussion because I feel assured that both lots end up with public access, which in this case is 5th Street. So I guess what I'm saying is, while Ed there are so many weird names and labels of things in our maps, and that is absolutely one of them, because I agree it's weird. In this particular case, as long as there is street access, because I'm tired of lots with no access, we've all been through that here in Bluff. As long as there is access on 5th Street for them to make a driveway into the new diamond of property and into the driveway of the existing lot, then I think we can proceed with this. And once again, ask town to provide us with better street maps, or, street maps, because we've had this discussion before where we're not sure what something is. So, I mean, I agree it's weird, but I don't think it has bearing for the moment on our decision today.
Good point, Marcia, but let me just say it this way from my perspective. The application calls it an alley, and anything that the Planning Commission does that approves the application as presented essentially honors the designation as claimed by the document. And I can't go that way. I'm going to have to vote no.
No, that's a good point, Ed, that we're saying street, but we're taking it from this survey. This was an official survey done. And where did they get the name 400 South Street, Cottonwood Edition? Let's see, all the other names on there. South Line, Cottonwood Edition, Point of Beginning, Jim Sayers Tract, running around the corner. I mean, I understand your point, Ed, no question. I'm not sure what we do about that, because I don't know that it's necessarily the fault of the people who are trying to take care of the land. Don't know.
I would move to table until our next meeting and have Michael take another look at whether that's a street or an alley and see what he wants to call it.
He calls it an alley in the application.
Right, but without having heard all this discussion. Is he on the line right now?
Mike, are you on the line right now?
I will move the table so Mike can have an idea of what we're talking about and see where he stands on alleys and streets.
What if we pull up the Cottonwood Edition map right now?
That might help us see what they call it. Ed has a motion that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, we're not, I could second it so that we can continue the discussion if we want to do it that way. I could second the motion for tabling it while we have the discussion of whether we're going to table it. Thank you.
So we have a second from Marcia. Any discussion?
Yes, please discuss the street and show us any map you can.
Yeah. Mary, go ahead. Mary Gillum, I want to recognize Mary from the public.
Marcia and everybody, I'm very familiar with the Cottonwood Edition plat from having land that abuts the same alley to the west, and that's definitely an alley on the plat. The plat makes a clear difference between alleys and streets based on their width, and that's not identified as a street on the plat. And to my knowledge, it's not identified as a street on the map that Michael uses with UDOT for maintenance of town streets.
Mary, do you know where the name 400 West 400 South Street would have come from then? If it's not...
I've never seen that name used before. I think it's a mistake by the surveyor. You know, maybe he was just trying to describe the location the best he could, but there is no name, no official name for that alley.
Where would Google Maps have gotten it?
Don't trust Google Maps.
I'm trying to find the map. Let's see. because I appreciate the discussion, but it also seems like a simple thing that could be, it's just a miscommunication on that. Oh, I have so many tabs open.
Well, if we had, if the motion to table passed, I would suggest that we follow up with a request to have the number removed so that it is not a street.
We're still in the discussion. We haven't voted on it yet, Ed.
Right, I'm just saying.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if that number disappeared, that'd solve the problem.
I think that, let me see if I'm, let's see, how does this one work? Is this the correct plat map, Mary? Cottonwood addition.
Yes, that is the correct map. The names of the streets are different.
So we're looking,
You're looking at that east-west alley that is at the southernmost extension of Cottonwood Addition.
mhm.
And so on the plat, alleys are 20 feet wide and streets are either 60 or 80 feet wide.
So it's this alley that's south of what was labeled Zuni Street?
Yes.
Yes, getting the street number off of there would reduce the size.
So that confirms that it's 20 feet wide, which is an alley, not a street. Luann, go ahead.
Yeah, just for clarification, block, it's, you live on 31 block, lot 7 and 8.
Mhm.
Who does? What?
Amanda
Amanda.
does.
Oh, okay.
And so that hits that 20 foot, and those going north and south are 80 feet wide. So from your map, you would each have 40 feet to get in.
Don't you live on the corner of 5th Street? Isn't that 4th Street we're looking at?
Yeah, the map is, the
This
street
is a-
names are no longer the current street names.
So,
So the edge of the if you go to the left, that's Guyman Ranch is out there. So I'm familiar like Mary is. So that's Guyman Ranch is there, and that's the border of the Cottonwood Addition that goes all the way around and comes around and wraps back up. So that's the end. And then Zuni Street is now Sage, and Apache is now Larkspur.
So 4th is 5th Street,
Fourth is Fifth.
3rd is 6th, 2nd is 7th.
Yes,
okay. So even though it says 4th,
right. It's Fifth.
okay,
It's Fifth
Amanda,
right there.
yeah, and you're right. Amanda lives on 7 and 8 of block 31. Yep, that bottom 7 and 8. And so
Yes.
right there is the border of the new property, or the property in question. So that little double line there is a little 20-foot alley.
Right. And the problem, I think, what I'm hearing Ed say is that apparently 7 and 8 have a 4th Street address and should have, maybe that's left over from these old maps or something, but that address needs to be changed to something else. And then that, and he needs to present it as not on 4th South. And 4th South does show up on Google Maps.
Yeah, like, because technically my address is 432, but it should be 5 something, but it's a relic of old times.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
no, if the numbers are going that way, you're the end of the 4s. Mary should be the start of the 5s. Her address would be, the addresses go after the street they're on. So the back of you is 4th, the numbers are coming this way. So you're the end of 4s. Is Mary's address a 5?
I guess we are getting a bit outside of we don't need to necessarily address addressing in this question of a land partition. So Mary, I don't think you need to tell us your address.
Okay, so apparently what we're talking about is a mislabeling of what is actually an alley. And therefore, in our case tonight, it seems to me that we can approve or not, we can vote is what I mean, that we can vote on the land partition. And if we're doing so, we could add the caveat that the wording is corrected for 400 alley. That seems to me to be the way we could get to this. If we vote yes, if we decide we're voting.
Well, in my perspective, the application already says it's bordered by an alley, so there's not even a need to.
But the alley has a street number. This is giving us an excellent opportunity to address this thing if we just give ourselves a little time.
Leah, go ahead.
I feel like at this point, the West 400 South being labeled in the letter stating it's an alley is just for an identification purpose. And then based on the 2 stars in the Google Map photo, both partitions of land do have access to 5th West Street. And so, in my opinion, I think that they are both able to receive their right of way. I'm using the wrong word, but
Access.
access. That's it. Thank you.
So the West 400 South did come from Google, it looks like.
Right. And so it seems like it's really just there as a identification marker for our references, and it is mentioning that it is an alley. It's not claiming that it is a street.
So is there any more discussion?
Call for the vote on the motion to table.
Yeah, so we have to vote on the motion to table this. I'll bring it to a vote. Sorry. All in favor of voting aye to table the motion or the vote, say aye.
Aye, even if I'm all by myself.
No.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of no, say aye or say nay.
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 Okay, and I will abstain. Motion fails.
I would make a motion to approve the land partition request from Michael Podmore as presented.
I second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
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 I abstain.
Okay, Ed abstains. I will abstain as well. So motion passes with 3 ayes and 2 abstentions. I will get that land partition form signed and sent to Mr. Podmore probably Friday. Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm going to go back to our agenda, item 5, land use clearance reviews. We did not have any land use clearances to review this evening, unless has anybody received any that I'm not aware of. Okay. Number 6, update on the RV ordinance. Malia and Marcia, I will pass that over to you with updates, next steps. I can also screen share if you'd like, whatever.
I guess I'll start, and that is to say just basically somewhat what we said last time, and we keep getting caught up in other issues. And what I mean by that is Malia and I were able to condense down, make it very readable, if you will, so that we have a draft ordinance to present and we should talk about it. Whether we end up doing this in a meeting like this for time constraints, or if we do it as some sort of work session, or when we have a couple less things to talk about. But the idea would be that she and I put together a fairly consistent RV ordinance. I think we mentioned that it talks about RVs and then RV parks, and we need your help just filling in some of the little things. If everybody wants to read it and put comments on it, and then we'd have it ready to talk about, or you can open it up and we can try and go through. It's up to you.
We do have some time if you wanted to like share a particular part or update with us, or otherwise.
Well, I'm sorry.
I don't know if we've all read it to catch up on the latest draft. So
you're welcome to open it, and Malia and I can see if there's like the top part and talk about that, and then do the bottom part next time or something. We could certainly try that. If we get too deep, we can change it up.
Okay. Yeah, why don't we spend 7 or so minutes on that?
Okay, awesome. Let's see. So what we did is steal, obviously, a draft from elsewhere and hone it down. The numbers will be terrible on here, so you're not going to be able to, it's not concise numbers because we interspersed a few things. But if you'll notice, we did some things like definitions, and we have some questions on them. So perhaps some of that could be looked at or something. The health officer would be looking at, so here's a typical example. We don't have any anybody in charge of inspecting things yet, so we can't quite fill in the names of the people that might be doing this. But we want to be able to say that you're going to be inspected by or licensed by, and therefore some of these definitions will need honing as the town progresses. So let's see. You can keep going. Malia, interrupt any time so I'm not missing anything.
You're doing wonderful.
Wait, what's number 4? Go back a little bit. Okay. Recreational meter. Oh, so here's a recreational vehicle definition taken from the real way that it's described on the internet or in ordinances, and other things play into what we might end up talking about. So shouldn't we have the following: mobile home, tiny home definitions, modular home definitions? Those kinds of things are exactly what we're talking about that we need a group consensus on. Will this ordinance cover more than just what we consider an RV? The recreational vehicle space one is a space with a recreational vehicle designated for one or more. I guess what I'm trying to say is anywhere you see some red, we need some help. Go ahead, Amanda.
Well, I was going to say the need to write an RV ordinance has come up because of like the proliferation of RVs in town. I don't think that we've discussed the need to address mobile or modular homes, so I personally would prefer to keep them out of the ordinance. And okay, I know there's a lot more rules around those to protect affordable housing options. So
well, that definitely was part of our discussion, Malia and I. If you have just, for example, a nice modular home park, then quite often the front row might be the RVs, temporary hookups in a modular home area or something like that. So some of these discussions definitely overlap. And it's possible that an RV ordinance might have some definitions in it that aren't yet used in the ordinance. So I absolutely agree with you. We might not be discussing it this minute, but it definitely overlaps what we've discussed. And perhaps as we go further, we can see that. So
keep scrolling.
Let's see, per minute. Wondering if we want to make regs for all zones, commercial zones. So a lot of this did, in fact, become discussions of where RVs could be if they were just RVs, and where they could be just parked and for how long. So Malia and I, once again, we just tried to hone it down a little bit and then have you guys help us plug in what they are. It wasn't just up to the two of us to go, we don't want it parked on the left. We want it parked on the right. So instead we said, here are the things we have to decide as a group. And then obviously the point of this is yet to come. And that is that we're going to have to put this together as a recommended draft and have the public hearing process and the town council process. So this is still just discussion.
Okay.
And I see, and it's great. I think Amanda went through and did a lot of yes, no's, which I will be honest with you, I did not stop and read them all. So I need to do that because it'll help. But let's see. So without getting specific, moving down to, whoops, go back up to one. What was the rented or used? Oh, so 1 RV per acre may be rented or used for living quarters. If the lot is smaller than an acre, a maximum number of RVs that may be rented or used for living quarters is only 1. So that's a good example of, if you decide that RVs are on a lot to be rented, then it better be a small lot with just 1, or a big one with more becomes an RV park. So some of that was up for discussion, one clarification kind of. So in reading, in just glancing over at Amanda's comments, I can see that you're trying to fit in what we've been trying to fit in, some of the answers to that. Okay, you can keep going to maybe a condominated approved licensed mobile home parks. Okay, so then you get into more of the things like there's a commercial zone and they're going to be building the new building on the commercial zone. So someone's got to live in an RV while it's being built, or that it's used as an office or something. Well, that's fine. We want to allow that. That's how commercial building gets done. So we just kept it very simple to, you can have it there as long as it's hooked up responsibly and safe. The same thing became true for the residential zone then. If someone puts, we know that some people are going to build homes in a manner that might not be finished quickly, therefore they need someplace to live or stay. And so the residential housing could be the RV for a while. However, we are not going to allow it to be the permanent residence or satellite bedroom for an existing home. So these are the kinds of things that we called from the existing draft ordinance. And these are the kind of things that we wanted the, see, there's a good example. Malia and I didn't quite agree on how this was going to be. So she put a little comment there that we need to talk about it.
Okay.
So in the last 5 or 6 minutes, I've sort of pointed out where we are in this and where we all need to do some back and forth to make it more permanent. So,
Okay. So it seems, so it does seem like you guys have reduced the length a bit. So thank you for that. I have one suggestion for Malia and Marcia, which is, if you all wouldn't mind maybe reviewing my comments and either like accepting or rejecting them, and then sending this to all of us so that we have kind of a clean
the next iteration. Okay.
I think it'll be a lot easier for us to weigh in when there's not like a million comments on the side.
Okay. Well, I apologize for not catching the fact that they were all there, because I thought we were a week off of that. Malia, you and I can call each other and make a plan. Is that good? Excellent.
Cool. And then once you send it to us, then we can all review it add our comments as homework and then address that at a future meeting.
Okay, I like
Cool.
that. And I
Okay.
appreciate your help, Amanda, of putting some comments. And if you guys have some comments right now, you know, Brian, I see your thumb going up. If you have some time when you're kicking back and want to add some comments, then when Malia and I go through it, or Ed, then we can take your comments and help clean some up. So I agree.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. I would love some homework.
Okay.
Nice.
I
Okay.
think that a work session could also be nice for this one, because it could
Yeah.
be nice to be able to sit down and everyone talk about what their thoughts are on it. I enjoy the across the table conversation for things like this, because we're not going to agree on everything. And I think that it'd be nice to have that work session for
Yeah.
this, just so that we can accomplish it and move it on, so that it's not just hovering over us at this
Do we
point.
want to set a date now for that, or do you guys want to first see when you can get the latest draft ready?
Let's get a draft put together and then talk about it at next meeting.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great. Okay.
But we'll still take comments up until
Okay.
our work session. Yep.
Oh,
Sounds great.
yeah.
Stop sharing. Okay. Any final comments on RV ordinance, item 6 on the agenda? Okay. Item 7, items for next agenda. Sounds like RV ordinance. And sign, the Twin Rocks sign update. What else would folks like to see on the next agenda?
Leave the aviation ordinance update. We won't be working on it, but just the update of what you've done, or if the town has it.
Do we want?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, never mind. I'll do it under other. Go ahead.
Okay. We could look at the incongruency of the petition or partition application versus zoning code and see if we can correct that.
I like that. I think that was an odd wording sentence that we just need to figure out.
Yeah. Okay. What else would folks like to see on the next agenda? We will probably
Potentially.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
We'll probably have a new fee schedule in town, which may be relevant to planning and zoning applications. So I think we could put that on there just to update everybody.
And we were saying the same thing. So, yep.
Okay. Anything else?
I feel good with that.
We had a request from the Active Transportation Committee to be on the agenda, but I haven't confirmed that. So, is that Tony?
It is. Tony's coming to Bluff.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to item other. Marcia, did you have an other?
I did, and that was, I would just like some clarification of the physical paperwork circle here. And that is that Erin gets some at the office, or you get some, or whatever, and it's being passed around. The first question I have is the end result of planning and zoning paperwork a filed system in the town office? Is that correct?
Yes. And Erin manages that system.
Okay. It was implied, and I won't answer this. We'll have to get some input, that Erin, being as busy as she is, which we know is swamped, is not our paperwork person for P&Z. I don't want to use the word anymore, but shouldn't be. In other words, when Linda Sosa handed me this, I said, oh, maybe it should have stayed with Erin so she could drop it in the file. And Linda kind of hesitated, like, well, she doesn't do P&Z, said Linda. So I would like us to perhaps come up with a way that says vice chair walks paperwork over to office and puts in drawer, or whatever needs to happen, we come up with a plan. And
Okay.
maybe that's you and Erin talking, or you and Ann and Erin. So whatever you'd like to figure out.
I will work on that, and we can have an update on the next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Okay.
Just for the record, it's really important to me that none of the commissioners are holding on to the paperwork, that it's in a safe place in the office. I think we all agree to that. So we just need to figure out what that looks like.
Exactly. That's exactly why I'm asking, because I was given this today. I won't see you for a while, but I hate handing it and going, here, Erin, do our work. So I'm just not sure. In this particular case, would you like me to drop it by Erin and say, we're working on a plan? You and Amanda work on a plan, but would you hold this piece of paper in our drawer? Would you like me to do that?
Why don't you hold it for now until we
Okay.
figure out who's doing that? But we'll
Absolutely.
do that. And then everything that we're filing paper copy, we have an electronic copy in our Google Drive too. So we have a bomber system. We just need to work it out. So
Okay, perfect. I'm happy to, like I just mentioned, either walk things down or do whatever. I just want to know that it's done right.
thanks. Okay. Any other items or things to address under other?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, move to adjourn, second by Malia. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned at 6:58 p.m. Thank you so much, everybody. And I'm glad the electricity didn't go out.
We got
Yay.
this bizarre rain squall that just went right back by the window and it's gone.
It's over here now. It made it to Montezuma.
Aha. Okay. I think
Yeah.
there's another one coming.
Yeah, I assume. It's pretty loud right now here.
Yeah.
And a beautiful rainbow.
Oh, I got to go outside. Okay.
Cool.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Aye.